Welcome to another episode of Plead the Cause, brought to you by Heart of the Bride Ministries in Niceville, Florida, where we plead the cause for the orphaned and vulnerable children around the world. We're excited to be back with you. I'm Tommy Morris, Director of Community Engagement for Heart of the Bride Ministries, and with me once again is our Executive Director, Brian Chrisman. How's it going, Brian?
It's going good, man. How about you?
Doing well, man. It's a good morning. Beautiful
Oh,
day.
yeah, it's a good one. Absolutely. Absolutely. A little cloudy, going to be hot and humid, normal day in Florida.
Yeah, hot and humid for the next 4 or 5 months. Easy.
That's
Easy.
it. That's it. It's here,
Easy.
man. We had a few cool snaps. They're over. Now it's just
Yeah,
hot and humid.
that's it. That's it. Well, man, I'm excited to continue our conversation just a little bit more about the ministries of Heart of the Bride. Last week, we had the opportunity to look at Africa and talk about our ministries in Kenya and in Zambia. And this week, we get to share about two more countries where we serve, that being Haiti and India. So, really excited about that and just continuing to discuss the vision of the ministry of Heart of the Bride. So, I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to you and just share with us a little bit about discipleship and the vision that we have in, let's start with Haiti.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I felt like I needed to just go ahead and make a general statement today as we start. We've talked about our general calling, our why, our general how, but I want to make sure that everybody understands our vision is for each individual child, right? And it's very much the same vision we have for the children in our homes, right? The ones that live in our homes, our children, whether they're biological or foster or adoptive. Our goal is for every one of our children in every one of our ministries, to grow up and to live gospel-centered lives in their communities. We want to see communities around the world transformed by the gospel as our students graduate and enter their communities as adults, living and speaking the gospel. So discipleship is a central core. I mean, it really is the core of all of our ministries. We want to provide everything with excellence, education. We want to feed. We want to do all those things, but discipleship is the core. That's what's going to bring the long-term transformation. So in Haiti, that's when I came on staff in 2015, one of the first places I went with that focus, trying to help organize and put some structure to our discipleship strategy there. Haiti, just to give you a little bit of background, I mean, you can go Google it and read a lot about it. But Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, it's had a long and very tumultuous history. If you read through it, I mean, the ups and downs are crazy. That whole island has been that way, and so Haiti it's a tough place. Voodoo is still real there, still prevalent. And then you find where the lines aren't drawn as well, and Christianity and voodoo gets mixed together. We've had to straighten out a lot of theology with and belief with some of our kids in our ministry. Who learn different things. They're discipled in our ministry, and from the other side they get voodoo teaching. So it's tough, but also heard some pretty miraculous things where Christianity confronts voodoo and God shows His power. So a lot of stories there, and we'll probably share some of those in the future. Some specific things that people we know have been through, and how God's shown up there. But in Haiti, what we currently have is a school called the Human Care School in Marrouge, Haiti. It's up in the northwest corner of Haiti, very far from all the big cities. So you can't just fly in somewhere and drive a few hours. If you drive, it's 8.5 hours through the mountains and very rough. We typically have to take a small plane to get up there, land at a place called Mole St. Nicholas, which also has some great history. It was the second place Columbus landed in the New World. So, there's a fort he built there and an armory, some pretty cool stuff just laying on the ground. In America, we'd pick it up and put it in a museum, still laying on the ground in Haiti. So pretty cool. But so we met our partner there, Ed Nair, many years ago. And actually we were partnered with someone else in Haiti and had a girls' home. We no longer have that girls' home. All the girls there were adopted out. So God had a really great ending to that. But Ed Nair was one of our translators. And Ed Nair Veos is his name. And Ed Nair was a translator and just began to share his vision for what God had given him, this vision to reach the boys in a small area just outside of Marrouge. with gospel-centered education. He knew education was needed; it was the key, and that we could reach this whole community. Ed Nair himself had grown up as an orphan, and so he knew the challenges of fatherlessness. He had been taken in by some really great people, a pastor in Mole St. Nicholas, and so he also knew the transforming power of the gospel on an orphan. So that's his burden. And so from there, we began to walk with him and see his skill. You know, he had a college degree, incredibly smart, very entrepreneurial. Edner has many businesses on top of things to help feed his family and provide for ministry. And so with him in 2007, we started a seventh grade class. The original vision was for a high school. We started a seventh grade class in 2007 with 7 boys. And from there, we added a grade each year until 2014, because Haiti has what I like to call a 13th grade called philo. So you get one additional year of high school. We had our first graduating class in 2014. And from there, started sending boys to either university or trade training, whatever was most appropriate. We mostly focus on trade school, but we currently have 10 boys in trade school. We have a chaplain that disciples them regularly, so that they don't lose that connection when they go off to school. In 2016, Ed Nair started a primary school on the same campus. And so that took off. And we pretty quickly adopted that under our partnership. And it is focusing primarily on kids all from right there around the school. The original school was boys, but the primary school was co-ed. So now that those kids have crossed into middle school and going into high school, now Human Care School as a whole is co-ed. So boys and girls are being taught there, being trained, being discipled. We have over 200 students there every year. It was closer to 250 after the pandemic. It's dropped down closer to 200. Still a lot of challenges in Haiti, which we'll discuss in a minute, more than just pandemic. We've had this ministry long enough now to see former students doing great things. 3 of them returned to the school to teach. I've met them and watched them in action and prayed for and with them. It's pretty exciting to see that. We have students in the area, former students that are tradesmen, living and making a living, providing for their families, and many of them are leaders in their church, deacons and preachers. So I've had the opportunity to watch them and observe them do what God's called them to do, and it's pretty exciting to see God doing that and really just seeing this physical picture of redemption right in front of me, and it's pretty cool too to hear Ed Nair and his heart for these boys, really offering to them what was offered to him. And so Ed Nair himself he's married and got 4 kids now. So he's a close friend, and I really enjoy getting to hang out with him. But it's been a while since I got to do that. I think if anyone's been watching the news, at least in 2021, you know, Haiti had a pretty tumultuous event when their president was assassinated. And then what followed that was a lot of chaos, and it just remained that way. So right now, Haiti is pretty much under gang rule. They have a president. Their prime minister appointed himself president. They don't have a parliament, so he's pretty much the only one. And so it's just in chaos. We have not been able to return to our area yet. Our boys are safe. You know, it's fine if we can get to Marrouge. It's the having to go through the big cities to get there that will get to you. Those are the dangerous places. But everybody's safe in Marrouge, where our kids have gone to trade school. They've been safe. No one's had any problems. Some of our graduates, though, are struggling in different areas of Haiti because it's just chaos. The economy's in ruins, and gangs are ruling. A lot of them in different places are afraid. So, you know, I would say in this segment, you know, I would ask you to pray specifically for Haiti. It's I don't really know the path out. You know, I hear a lot of people with a lot of different ideas, but really, I don't think anybody really knows how this is going to end. You know, when you don't have a government in place and you've got gangs ruling different areas all over the country, it's pretty difficult. So Haiti's a place that needs a lot of prayer now. We're not taking teams right now. I can return. I know that. So I think a few of us will be going back soon. But but we're not taking teams. So it's hard to maintain that connection. So if you're one of those listening to this who's connected to Haiti, please continue to be connected. We're still sponsoring there and supporting our kids and facilitating that communication as we can. But Haiti needs a lot of prayer. So pray that God and his sovereign will and power will do something there to bring that chaos into order and really allow, ministry to continue to flourish there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up a couple things. One being some of the difficulties that we see in countries like this when they face political changes, or like we said, this major event in 2021 that really changed the landscape of the country. A lot of times we don't really think about how a lot of those things impact missions. But it does. I mean, when we're talking about really wanting to support them and be relational and the aspect of sending teams, and something like that happens where now we're sitting on going on almost 2 years and not being able to be in country, it definitely changes how we support them and trying to get creative in what we can do to really pour into them and partner with them and continue that relationship. And so definitely a major area of prayer, and how
Yeah.
God can move and continue to strengthen their faith, while we're away. And then, what can happen for the doors to
Yeah.
reopen for us to get back over there.
Yeah, and with a couple of practical things, it's awesome that we live in this day and age with the technology we have. So Ed Nair and I can still talk on WhatsApp. Can't video call that often. The internet up there is not very great, nor is the cell signal. But we can talk, we can stay in touch. But there's still nothing like sitting down face to face, sharing a meal with each other and fellowshipping and praying for each other in person. So we miss that. We miss that badly. And secondly, listen, inflation is horrible everywhere, but it gets worse when you have to pay the truck driver to deliver materials. And all along the way, he's having to pay off gangs so he can get through safely. So the inflation in Mar Rouge is way higher than it is in Port-au-Prince. When they say gas is $7 or $8 a gallon in Port-au-Prince, it's 15 or 20 in Mar Rouge by the time it gets there. So, yeah, so a lot of prayer is needed, and just pray for God's intervention. That's all I know to do at this point.
Yeah, the other thing I was glad that you brought up was the kids who've been through. You said, we've been working with Haiti for a number of years, to the point that we've been able to see some of these kids grow up and now have families of their own, jobs of their own. And this is the beauty of missions and the way we do things. A lot of times there can be missions that are focused on people going over and just accomplishing a task and going home. One of the things that really struck me for Heart of the Bride, and that really excited me about joining this group and how God used you all, was pouring into the locals and equipping them and raising them up to be more self-sustaining, to really better them for their future, in a way that they are empowered and they are trained up and they're taught, and they're able to provide for their families as they get older,
Mm-hmm.
and have economic opportunities for themselves right there in their country. And so that's a great aspect of this mission.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That we're very, very excited about that. God has been so good to accomplish that.
Yeah. So moving halfway across the world, we'll look at another ministry we have here. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and
last week we kept it all on one continent last week, but this week, we're rolling across the ocean.
we're flying over that continent to
Yeah.
Asia. So yeah.
Exactly. So, talk to us a little bit about the ministry in India and what we do over there.
Well, let me tell you what's funny about India and time zones is that India is 10 and a half hours ahead of us. So I don't know who in the world came up with the half hour. I'm sure if I Googled it, I could figure that out, but I'm sure the info's out there, but they're 10 and 1/2 hours ahead. So it's not even a straight, equal hour time zone difference. So it's pretty funny, but India, I'm not going to mention the name of the school today, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. India is still a challenging place to minister as a Christian or anything other than Hindu right now. Although things are improving, I still don't want to mention the name in a widespread distribution media like this. But India, the school there is was a ministry already in progress when we were introduced to it. Our missionaries in Zambia, the Walkers, Bob Walker's sister, introduced us to Grace Nirmal in Bangalore. Bangalore, India is in South India. It's in the central portion away from the coast. It's a huge city. It's a tech capital. You've likely, if you've had to call the tech line of some company and it was in India, that you spoke to someone in Bangalore at some point. So it's a huge city. But the city has slums just like every other city in India. I mean, it's much like you see on the movies. I've been there where they're just, house and hut after hut, roofs just all connected, thousands and thousands of people living in a really small area. And so as you can imagine, the pandemic was huge when it hit the slums. I mean, there was very little social distancing going on when 10 people live in a 10 by 10 room. So, and that's right next to another room of the same size with more people in it. So, but the school was already reaching the slums when we met them, and really doing a beautiful job of discipling these kids. They knew the word. They were growing in faith, and they prayed so sweetly. It's just hard to describe. You got to be there. And so we felt led to partner with them in 2011. Began to partner with them and help support them. They already had a lot of supporters who then joined with Heart of the Bride so we could make it official. And the school grew, added a grade every year, and was growing, had 100 students, and then met some challenges in 2018. Right before that, the country elected a Hindu nationalist as prime minister, and then a more Hindu national government. So the Constitution of India, it allows for freedom of religion, but if the government's ignoring that, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, a document's only as good as the people who honor it, are supposed to honor it. So each state is kind of left up to make its mind, but the national government changed a rule, and private schools had to be on their own property, had to own their property. Well, we rent the house that we have school in there because it's an incredible God kind of deal, and we could never afford any other building. So in 2018, the school had to shut down pretty quickly. And then we began to look for a solution. And so the school really had to reinvent itself, and God gave our partners there incredible creativity. And what they did is they found out they could operate as basically a secondary school. So they had been first grade, actually preschool through graduation was their goal, but they could operate as a secondary school beginning in 8th grade and tutor kids through this online program and do it as an NGO. So when they discovered that, they began to research it and figure out that they figured out we could do this. So once they figured that out, then we began to invest in them again, that their supporters had stayed with them. And so now they're rebuilding the school starting 2 years ago, rebuilding the school. We had 37 students last year, and they're recruiting more for this year. But it's been kind of a God thing to see God work in that. It moved from a school focused on one specific slum to now reaching into multiple areas of Bangalore. We've got several Muslim students, several Hindu students. India still recognizes the caste system. And so we've got students of varying castes in there, which is really a blessing. And our partners are excited about that because it really means something to have a Hindu student from an upper caste. I mean, this is so foreign to us in America. But it really means something to have them in there. And so we've got 2 students from Nepal. So, I keep jokingly say we're going to have to call this the international school now. But God has really expanded their reach. And so their school system is on break now, and they'll start the new school year in May, end of this month, going into June. We're really looking forward to the school growing, having more than 50 students as it continues to grow, and just reaching new areas, new families. So the most recent challenge, though, is that last year, the state of Karnataka, the state that our school is in, had a pro-Hindu nationalist government, and they passed anti-conversion laws, which prevented the sharing of the gospel between people of unequal power. Okay, this is another one of those power structures. So, people could claim coerced conversion, And it didn't have to be you reporting it. You could say, hey, this person next to me became a Christian, and I believe they were coerced by this other person. And the government would intervene. Christians have been arrested. I've known pastors that were arrested. That also increased attacks on churches. So there was a Hindu nationalist group attacking churches around the Bangalore area and out in the state of Karnataka. So it looked pretty bleak. Our partner, just prayed and said, asked God to show. Our lead there is a woman. She prayed and asked for God to show her how they could do this, and so they began to just share their own stories of faith, share what they were reading in the Bible, what God was teaching them at Christmas. They shared what Christmas means. What they had to do was stop short of offering, like asking someone to accept faith. So it's a delicate balance, but they can share the gospel, and so they have found this balance, but we were praying into last week. They had the state elections, and the people of Karnataka state overwhelmingly ousted the Hindu Nationalist Party. And so the party that is now going to have, if you understand a parliamentary system of government, that's foreign to us, to most of us. The Congress Party will have full control of the parliament in Karnataka state and have a full government. Majority government without having to form a coalition. So that's huge. It's an interesting party, as I understand it, made up of Muslims, Christians, Dalits, the lowest caste system, and others that are just kind of outcast in overall Indian society. And so they've banded together. And so it looks like it's going to be a much more freedom of religion kind of government, and we're looking forward to them repealing those anti-conversion laws soon. And so it really looks like things are going to open back up in Karnataka state, where we can freely share again, freely disciple without having to come up with creative ways to hide it and keep it secret, and be open again. So we're ending this country with the same way we did Haiti. It's pray, 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 pray that continues, that it continues throughout India. There are states that do have strong anti-conversion laws because the national government does nothing about it. Neither do the courts. So so we just need to pray for that God would open up, the opportunity for the gospel to be shared and discipleship to happen again. We do have now 11 college students in India, graduates of New York City. We had our first graduation last year, our second one this year. And what's great is that in Bangalore, we really can send them to a university to study things that we think about here in the States: IT, business, administration, those sort of things, and then they can get a job with a huge company in Bangalore and make great pay and get out of the slums. So we've got several on that track in the computer IT field, and so we're really excited about that. Seeing those, so that in coming years we can share the stories like we have in Haiti, see our students graduate, watch them go into the business field and share the gospel and live for the glory of God in their chosen field. So it's exciting. So it's been one of our most challenging ministries. It's hard to say after what we just said about Haiti, but it really has been for the last 5 years. But God is providing a path now and opening the door again for open gospel ministry. So pray. That's the name of this episode today. It should just probably be pray, pray, pray. So keep praying.
Yeah, and this does bring me to our commit 3. We've discussed the commit 3 initiative, and the first part of that is pray. And it's so important. If you can't do anything else, if you're not able to take a trip, if you're not able to give financially, you can pray. Everyone can pray, and we know that God can do so much more through prayer and then in the heavenlies, and then just
Amen.
the move of His hand than we can ever do in our human efforts. We could work
Absolutely.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and not accomplish what God can do with one word. And so that's why prayer is so important. So we want to invite you to pray. And that's why I'm thankful, Brian, that I was going to ask you anyway, how can we pray? But you brought it up before I could ask you. So it's good that to bring these specific things up and to pray. It's education. We talked about the Eagles Christian Academy in Kenya, and then we've talked about how those in Zambia, there's a lot of gap years to make up from them being on the streets, and just how important education is. And so we want to pray for these kids, and that they'll continue to have these opportunities. And that's why it's important in India that we figure things out, and we pray that God will move so that our schools don't get shut down, that we can continue, because this is really what helps these kids get the education and training they need to become self-sustaining adults, and to be able to support a family, and just be on their own, and be self-sustaining. And so it's very important.
Absolutely.
But please pray, pray, pray. So
And what you just said too is so important. I didn't discuss this, but of all the places, living in the slums of India seems like the most hopeless place you can be. In Zambia, they're compounds. They're kind of similar areas where um, you know people with no means all live together, crammed together. And in India, it is just, I mean, it is, I mean, crammed together. I can't think of another word, almost piled on top of each other with very little hope. And there are a lot of jobs in Bangalore. So even the people in the slums typically have work. That's different than some of our other places, but no way to gain, to climb. It's just start a life of work, live in the slums the rest of your life, and always struggle to just barely make enough. And so our school there has the opportunity to reverse that cycle, break that curse. And so through the gospel, through education, and life skills training, all of the above, right? We have to engage in it all, character development, but very gospel centered. And so yeah, it's exciting, man,
yeah,
really exciting.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So just to reiterate, we do have the Commit 3 initiative that we want to share. The first part of that is to pray. The second part of that is to engage. You're doing that right now. If you're watching this video, this is one part of engaging with us. There will be more videos that we'll put out. There'll be times that we're going to do live streams where you can engage with us in real time. But you can also email us and ask us questions, and check out the website, heartofthebride.org. And if you're interested in going on a trip, we'd love to talk with you about that. We take church trips and support groups that can go over to different countries. Again, India and Haiti. We'll kind of see how that goes going forward. But we have opportunities for Kenya and Zambia, and so we'd love for you to engage in those ways, and then give. That's the third part of the Commit 3 initiative. So if you're able to financially support the ministry, then there are opportunities to give. You can see that online as well. So, we thank you for tuning in. We are so excited to continue to share about the ministry of Heart of the Bride, and all that is done abroad and right here at home to support those in need. That is what we're here to do, to plead the cause of the orphaned and vulnerable children around the world and right here at home. So check out the website again, heartofthebride.org. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell so that way you'll get notified every time a new video comes up or we go live. And we look forward to hearing from you, and getting some feedback. So Brian, any closing thoughts?
Oh man, just remember these three words: pray, pray, pray. we we
That's it.
need it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Brian, thank you, sir.